Good morning. How is everyone today? This is Sahar and Raji, and I'm so delighted that you decided to join me today for the 5 day assertiveness experience. And I wanted to share that with you because I wanted all of us to start the 2019 on the right foot. I see some people are still signing in. That's awesome. Good morning, Wayne. I have also Helen here, Mike, Patty, Mona. Who else is signing? I have Denise, Ramona, Sam. Good morning. Great. My name is Sahar Andrade, and I am a coach and as well as trainer. And part of what I love to do is to help people overcome their challenges, overcome their limiting beliefs, and overcome even fear so they can start living the life that they will always and always deserve to live. Because at the end, I believe that all of us have that light inside of us, and we all of us have that power that can make us live the life that we always wanted. And I just wanted to say good morning. I'm just want to wait for like 30 more seconds, and after that we will start. And whoever is here, if you ever have a question or whatever, please write it in the chat, and I will or ask me to unmute you, and I will do that. Okay, 2 more seconds, and we are about to start. Okay, let's start. So today, what I wanted to say is how we can go about having assertiveness in our life, and I wanted to know uh, basically what does it mean to be assertive, and how from there to start having our self-esteem going even higher. So I thought that we can start every day for 20 to 30 minutes discussing what really assertiveness is and what self-esteem is, because to every single one of them of us, it's something different. So first of all, I just want to commend you for taking the time of, I'm sure what is your busy schedule, to be here with me today for the next 20 minutes. Hopefully, we will meet every single day for the next 5 days. And this way, we are going to cover totally what assertiveness is. Today, we are going to be talking about the simple definitions of assertiveness and how to start getting ourselves on the right track, and how to start applying assertiveness in our life. And again, whenever if you have a question, please type it into the chat box. So thank you for being here today. I'm totally delighted that you're here. So what I wanted to start with today is a story that actually really happened a couple of weeks ago. We live in a nice rural area, and what happens is that we had our neighbor that has a very nice dog that we totally adore. But the dog barks all night long, and it sounds like sometimes it's right in our window. And um, for nights and nights we could not sleep. And then we saw the owner or our neighbor one day, and he said that, oh, I know it barks sometimes, but sometimes it barks because of the coyotes and stuff, and I know it bothers people, but this what are dogs for and stuff. And for a second I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, it's true, and it's great that it does that, but also on the other side, I want you to know that sometimes we can't sleep from it. And he looked at me like kind of funny, because but at that moment I had to say something. I had to say, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally understand that this is what dogs do, because I have dogs myself. But at the same time, I had to assert my right to have a peaceful night, that I can sleep as well, because in the morning we all have to go to work. So this is what I mean by assertiveness. What I want to ask you right now is, do you feel like sometimes you are reluctant at sharing your own opinions and your feelings? Do you often feel like you're used by others, but you refrain from complaining because you don't want them to actually not like you? Do you find it difficult to look at yourself and say, you know what, this is actually what I want, and this is what I want you to do for me right now? Um, do you find yourself sometimes shying away from telling them, you know what, there is something wrong in here, and I think this is what we should do? Do you find yourself, for example, um, agree with views and desires that are not yours, but you are doing it because the majority of people around you think that this is what they want to hear and you want to be liked? So that's what you do. Do you frequently make compromises just to have harmony around you? Do you believe that sometimes you work somewhere and you know that your coworker is not pulling their weight, and you keep working more and doing more to cover them? Instead, you said, you know what, it's easier this way than going and confronting them and saying that, you know what, I want you to work a little bit more because you don't want any conflict. Like I said about the neighbor, do you shy away from having boundaries or doing boundaries between your neighbor or even your siblings and your family? Do you feel like sometimes you're taken for granted, or sometimes even in a relationship neglected because people expect you to do certain things, or people expect you to do things for them regardless if it's good for you or it's not? Well, let me share with you a little bit of my story. As a little girl, I used to be the shy girl that wanted everybody to like her. I didn't want have any conflicts. I would shy away when someone like says something that is contradictory, and I would just hide sometimes, and I would not say anything. And what this happened is that growing up, it actually made me very frustrated. And I came to a point where I resented some of the people around me because I felt like I wanted to say something, but I couldn't, because at the end, I just wanted them to like me. And as a result, you know, most of my life, around like my 20s, I was just frustrated, angry, and very stressed, and sometimes even depressed. So that's when I decided that's not what I'm going to do anymore. And little bit by little bit, it's not a walk in the park, and it's not an overnight thing. It just takes a lot of work. And because of that, I became who I am today. I am a consultant, I am an award winning entrepreneur, and a public speaker, as well as a TED Talk speaker. Where do I come from? I came actually from a culture where you should not speak up about yourself. You should not brag about what you do. If you laugh in a loud way, it's bad, and you have to be very subdued somehow, especially being. Though my parents were very open-minded people, but I also wanted to please them so much that growing up, I knew that in order for women or a woman to have power and money, she had to be one of the few professions that there are that are very high standard, which could be like a medical doctor, or it could be an engineer or a judge. So, and also my parents were kind of pushing me towards me going to medical school. And just because I wanted to please them, not that I wanted myself, I guess deeply inside it, I resented that, but I still wanted to please them. I went to medical school. Well, I hated it at the time, but now I'm grateful that I did it. But I just did it just to please my parents. And this took a lot of years of my life. And at the end of it is that when I had to make a harsh stop and say, is this how I want to spend the rest of my life? Or should I kind of put my foot down? And actually, I never practiced, but it helps me today in what I do. So why do we always say yes? Why is it? And not being assertive is kind of being passive, and being passive is like what we call the yes man or yes woman. And why do we do that? Why do we always go back to saying, or our default is saying yes? Why? Because as human beings, we just want to be nice and we want to be liked. We want people, we don't want to be rejected. We don't want people to abandon us. We want to feel that we belong. And believe it or not, this started from the day of the cavemen, where we lived in tribes and we wanted everybody to be there. But there is also a downside to that niceness, especially for women. Like I said before, like the culture where I came from, cultures push you to be nice, especially in cultures that we call power distance, where there is, if someone has a little bit of authority or someone is older, what you do is basically lean into that power and give them whatever they want, and not being assertive, and just give them always whatever they wanted to have. That being number one. Also, there are other reasons why we do that, because we are taught from the beginning, and assertiveness starts from since we are little kids. We don't think about ourselves, or we don't even brag about ourselves. And if we are entrepreneurs, one of the big things that we need to learn is a little bit to brag about ourselves in our branding, because if not, no one else will brag about us. So if we start just being passive and saying yes to everything, we are setting ourselves somehow to failure, because we are not doing what we want to do. And that frustration and that resentment that is inside of us act as negative forces that cannot even push us forward. So it becomes our self prophecy, because remember, our self image becomes based on how others perceive us. But the most important part is, how do we look at ourselves? What is our personal reflection to ourselves? Because remember, the whole world starts and ends with us. It's not about others and how they feel. It's about who we are and what are we doing. That being said, also we know that it has been research and studies have been done by University of California in San Francisco, and they found that the more we need to push ourselves to say no, it triggers stress, resentment, frustration, temper buildup. It's like a balloon. You keep putting air inside, and what does it do? It explodes at the end. Anxiety is high, and sometimes even depression. It, all of that combined works against our own self-esteem. Though saying no sometimes is really healthy, because remember, when we say yes, we are saying no to something else. And that's very important, that because that thing that we're saying no to can be something that is our dream, our passion, our fulfillment that we need to do. Let me go see if we have any questions. Here. Okay. I see. Okay, I see one question here. It says, "How do we know that we are passive?" Okay, when to know that, basically, do you find yourself wanted to say no or say something else, or say, you know what, I'm not sure I want to do that right now, but instead of that, you feel that, you know what, you cannot do that, and it's not in your hand to do that, but at the contrary, against of what you're feeling, you feel that you still have to say yes, and you're doing something, though inside of you you seriously feel that this is not what you wanted to do, this is not what is going to advance your career, this is not how you want to be heard in a relationship, this is not how you want to show what you're doing at work in your boss, because you still have to pull that weight that your coworker is not doing and basically taking advantage of you. If you answer yes to any of these questions, that means that you're probably, part of you is passive. Though as a person you might not be passive, but you might be taking the easy way out. So moving forward, I'll be back every few minutes. What do we say? The people that are not very assertive, and there is a difference between being assertive and aggressive, and I'll talk about it in a second. So what do we say as people that are not very assertive? We say, I don't know. I don't think I can. I'm not certain. I suppose, but I'm not sure. Remember, like I said earlier, others perceive who we are through the words that we say, but we perceive ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, what we call self-talk. And remember, people will take whatever you give them. That's why boundaries are very important. And I don't care to who, boundaries are very important to implement between you and your partner, between you and your significant other, between you and your spouse, between you and your family, between you and your friends, even between you and yourself. These boundaries have to be there because this is what will maintain your self-esteem and will help your self-confidence. So why do we do it? Why do we do that? Why do people sometimes are less than assertive? Like I was just saying a minute ago, low self-esteem, need to placate others, learned helplessness since we were kids, fear of criticism, fear of rejection, fear of offending someone, because remember the niceness that we just want to be nice to everybody, or just a mere fact or being wanting to be liked. Why do we do that? Because our brain has two parts, a conscious and an unconscious part. The unconscious part acts only for our survival. But the conscious part, if we are conscious about it, it will lead us to our success. The perception of our reality is subject to our mental filters that taint how we act. So, how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive that others want us to act is how we act. And this, if we come to that point, this is really sad because some people have so much potential, but sometimes have never had the chance to voice who they are. So they never had a chance to make their dream happen because they are so busy making sure that everybody else likes them or doing things for people rather than doing it for themselves. Why? Because again, it's the unconscious part, is the survival part, is the wanting to be liked part, is the part that makes you stand up in your comfort zone and puts you in status quo. And all that at the end is attributed to fear. So, what is assertiveness? Assertiveness, very simply put, is what stands, it's something right in between of being a bully or being a doormat. I don't think anyone inside of them, hopefully, no one wants to be a bully. But I'm sure that we all never want to be a doormat. So assertiveness is what stands tall in between both, in between a bully and between a doormat. So it's a skill, meaning that we are not born with it. It's not a personality, but it's a behavior and it's a learned skill. And that's why there is always hope. Since it's a learned skill, then we can learn it. Passiveness that we have learned throughout our life, anything that we learn can be unlearned. And anything that we don't know can be learned. And it's about habits, it's about repetitions, it's about what we become, what we do regularly and in an automatic way. That's why our habits take over. That's why I wanted to start this year by the experience of assertiveness. How many of us promise ourselves that at the beginning of the year we're going to do this and this and this, we're going to lose weight, we're going to go to the gym? God knows I had so many of those. And by probably mid-February, nothing happens. Why? Because our old habits kick in again. Because consciously, we are not building our resilience to start new habits. And new habits are very easy to be implemented. It takes between 21 days and 30 days to form a new habit. As long as consciously we do something every single day, the same day. And we can even get what we call triggers, like things to remind us. Like now, for example, the minute I get to my car, I remember to do something. The minute I get out of the door, I remember to do something because I train my brain to do that. So, for example, post-it notes, write it on your laptop screen, on your desk, on the door that you leave from, on your mirror, on your in your car on the dashboard, alarm on your phone. Just remind yourself to keep doing something that you want to implement, and in 31 days to 30 days it becomes automatic. So there is always hope that we can take our bad habits out, and get our new habits in. So assertiveness is also the ability to say no in a positive way. For example, if someone comes and tells you, here, I want you to help me finish this project right now, and you know that you have so many projects and you have so many things on your plate that you want to do, but your usual nice self will say, sure, no problem. And you, again, saying yes to something is saying no to something else. So you're saying no to whatever you need to do for yourself, and you're helping that person. And what happens is that you are frustrated and you resent them, like I said before. So instead of saying yes, what you can say, I would love to help you, but maybe tomorrow, or maybe at the end of the week, because I have so many things to do. And we always say, for example, if your boss comes and gives you a project that has a deadline today at the end of the day, and he or she give you already 2 or 3 projects to finish by the end of the week, sometimes people forget, they get so busy. So to being assertive, said like, you know what, boss, I would love to do whatever you want to do, and I will definitely finish everything as needed, but I have these 2 or 3 projects that you need them by that date. Which one do you want me to start with first? This way, in case they forgot, they will know, but you're also standing your ground and you're putting the ball in their corner. They will get to decide which one is most important to them. And that's why you're not frustrated and you know what to do, and you stood up for yourself and you voiced your opinion as well. So assertiveness is standing up for yourself, but at the same time, you are considering the rights and opinions of others without compromising either yours or their rights. So assertiveness is standing tall for yourself, but at the same time, not ignoring other people's feelings, rights, responsibilities, whatever it is. It's standing up for yourself, voicing yourself without bulldozing everybody around you, because that will be aggressiveness. And we just want to leave that assertiveness in there. So part of what I want to leave you with today is to start like a little journal for the next 5 days that we're going to be together. Can you remember a situation or a time where you should have been speaking up either for yourself or for someone that you care about, and you failed to do that? Do you remember, I'm not going to say 10 situations or even 5, just one, that left a very deep feeling inside of you or a deep emotion inside of you? Do you remember one of those? Write it down, and please write it down in details, because I want you to visit that at the end of the 5 days. Did you ever feel that you have been taken advantage of and accepted it as a matter of fact? Well, you know how people say it is what it is. I'm just going to do whatever I need to do at that time. So I want you to think about these 2 things and write them down, because like I promised you, by the end of the 5 days, you're going to have a very clear path on how to achieve your assertiveness, because your assertiveness is not going to come at the end of the 5 days, but at least you're going to start your path to the light. You're going to start your path of being assertive and standing up for yourself while you respect and you appreciate other people's rights and opinions as well. So what's the difference? Is there are 4 kinds of behaviors. There is the aggressive, there is the passive, there is the passive aggressive, and there is the combination of all of them. So what does aggressiveness mean? Aggressiveness, or an aggressive response, basically has some hostile component in it, where you have no empathy, no sympathy, no respect for anyone in front of you. You bulldoze, or you're bullying the person in front of you, and it's your way or the highway. We definitely don't want to be aggressive, though at certain times, in certain emergency situations where you have to save someone out of a fire in a house, or something that is a total emergency, as a really life-threatening emergency, you need to take control and do that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about our everyday interactions. Passive is when you just respond in a way to avoid conflicts, like, I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to have a problem with anyone, I want them to like me, I don't want them to reject me. It's basically You avoid conflict at all costs, but your needs are hardly fulfilled. And you start feeling resentful. Is it really worth it for you to always being the yes man or yes woman? Is it really worth it for you at the end? I want you to remember we are the master of our universe. It starts and ends with us. So we cannot say, oh, look what they do to me. They don't support me. They don't get me. They don't understand me. Or why me? We cannot go down that rabbit hole. Everything starts and ends with us. So it's up to us to accept or not to accept how we're treated. And we teach people how to deal with us. Again, boundaries. Passive aggressive is when you disguise your aggressive responses in order to avoid taking responsibility. It's like basically, it's like poking someone deep with a big smile, like if you care about them. That's what passive aggressive is. And then you alternate. These are between like being in the beginning you start passive and then resentment and anger start building up and you explode with the hostile response. So we have aggressive, passive, passive aggressive, and alternating. So where do we go from here? Like the first thing, like I said, write down a situation that you remember that it made you feel bad because you felt you never stood up for yourself or for someone that you care about. So the first thing that I want you to do, and I'm going to give you like something theoretical and something practical to do. So the theoretical part is to write down in a journal that situation. The practical part, and I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you it does work. I mean, what are you losing? Just try it. You stand in front of a mirror, even in the bathroom, and you put your hands on your hip and head high, and you look into the mirror, take a deep breath, look at yourself straight in the eye and say, I stand up for myself. I respect myself. For 5 times to 10 times and repeat it out in your mind throughout the day. Our brain listens to what we say, but our brain does not understand the difference between negative and positive. It never did. And people have the tendency to tell our brain what they don't want. And that's the only thing the brain listens to. So, for example, if I want to stop eating sweets, I think that keep telling myself, don't eat sweets, don't eat sweets, don't eat sweets will help me and will help my brain stop eating sweets, but it doesn't. Because all what my brain hears is the word sweets. It does not understand the difference between do and don't. So this is a reminder to start telling ourselves what we want to do rather than what we don't want to do. So instead of saying don't eat sweets, I should be saying eat healthy. Eat healthy. Healthy, healthy. That's what I'm saying. It's just like we need to start readjusting our brain and how it responds to our own messages. So that's the practical part. And also, I want you to start thinking, what can I do today that when I want to express something negative or I want to say no, I will not be passive, I will not be aggressive, or I will not use abusive language even inside of my head. What would it take from me today to start changing that? Baby steps. Baby steps. Because if you go like a big leap right away in changing, it's not going to work. So baby steps. You can always have a leap of faith. You can always, like my friend Bree says, leap of faith. But what you do is taking it in baby steps. Again, another question that you need to ask yourself, what will it take today to start believing in my strength? Knowing what are my strengths. Do you even know what your strengths are? You need to start with your own inventory. Do you know what you stand for? Do you know what your power comes from? Do you know how you help others, how you impact others? Start thinking, what is it that most of your friends come and ask you to do for them or ask you for advice? What can you do today that you're going to start asking what's rightfully yours. What can you do today to start accepting criticism without flipping out, and start accepting compliments without saying, oh, it's nothing, we did it all together, and start taking credits for what you do. My name is Sahar Andrade, and I thank you so much for being here today with me. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go back to see if anyone has a question, and we will meet tomorrow here at 9 a.m. Okay, let me see. There are a couple of questions here. Okay, Eric is saying, how would I know what are my strengths that we're talking about? Okay, there is something called the SWOT analysis that we do for marketing. Basically, you take a paper, and I'm going to show you, and you do just a like a cross in it, like that. See that cross? And you start here, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths are yours, weaknesses are yours, and then opportunities that exist in your outside world, and threats that exist in your outside world. And don't be shy. Write everything. Like, for example, you're kind, you have empathy, you communicate well, you have a degree in something, you can put a plan together, you can rally troops together. Whatever it is that you think people always compliment on you, that even you think that are not great or are not strength, write it down and don't be shy and keep repeating them, because this is something of who you are. You have to know your strength to move forward. Okay, and then the next one is Helen. I have always been taught to respect the elders and to respect people in authority. Well, I know that's what I said. And I was never able to say no. But lately, I have been feeling very frustrated with myself rather than with them, because my projects are not done on time and I'm not able to understand what I'm doing. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. When you keep saying yes to something that even is not yours, you're saying no to something else that can basically push you forward. At least you're starting to realize that it's affecting your life. Stick with me for the next 4 days, and you're going to have a way on how to changing that without offending anyone, without anyone getting mad at you. And you know what? Some people will get mad at you. I just want to let you know that we will never be the cup of tea for everybody, and it's totally perfectly fine. We need to embrace who we are. It starts with ourselves. We need to love our perfect imperfections. We need to accept who we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is my mantra in life. So I want you to do that as well. So stick with us, stick with me for the next 5 days, and you will find an easier way on how to start standing up for yourself. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about how to start changing and what are the stages that go through change, so we are not hit with that anxiety of change. I believe once we understand the root of whatever we're doing, it's easier for us to implement anything after that. And then we're going to go through exercises, we're going to go through activities. Please go through your activities that I give you, do theoretical part and the practical part, and we'll meet tomorrow right here at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you so much for being here today and for giving me precious 30 minutes of your life. I will meet you here tomorrow. This is Sahar Andrade. I'm out for now. See you tomorrow. Bye.